Morning. The weather here is beautiful. It's not yet summer. It's the 14th of June. But there's a wind today and a slight chill in it. Feels like autumn. It's incredible. I'm making this early in the morning. Hopefully I'll be more coherent. I want to discuss the frustrations of publishing. Technology is a double-edged sword. It allows you to reach the masses, much like this video. However, the caveat is this. You become a needle in the haystack. Because mass media, YouTube, other platforms are saturated. So you have to find your market, which is not easy, especially for someone such as myself who is an anachronism and tries to stay off computers as much as possible. However, I know to function in modern times and to reach people, one needs to utilize such tools, which I am doing. My hope for these videos, in part, is that someone out there will come across this, that someone is listening. My newest book is called The Gift of Blindness. And people tell me, when they read my work, they say to me, why haven't you been picked up by a major publisher? And my response is always, well, they don't know I exist. Again, I'm one out of billions of individuals in the world. How does one become discovered? One has to be strategic about this. So, maybe someone listening, if you know someone who knows someone who knows someone, can be of help. Because my next book, I want a traditional publisher. This is what it looks like. It's hard to tell. But this is the cover. It is a door. And I am going to read from the beginning pages. I don't really want to give you a backstory on The Gift of Blindness. It speaks for itself. I'll probably make another video about it. And if I seem a little distracted at the moment, it is because my dear beloved brother, Aegis Godfrey is his name, is on my desk. I mean, if that isn't a selling point, what is? Guy who loves his cat. Never trust someone who doesn't like cats. The Egyptians revered them. So, from The Gift of Blindness, taking it from the top. Sarah Sky stands on the threshold of her office for the last time. Not one for overt sentimentality, she steps into the otherwise empty room with the exception of a very large desk to her right with pocket doors. Vintage, it nearly reaches the ceiling. It too has been swept clean. It is evening of a summer weekend, her favorite time of year, as she loves the long hours of quiet, lingering light. She wears sandals, loose navy pants, and a white blouse. A pendant hangs from her neck, circular, bronze, embossed with the relief of an artist seated in a chair, painting the crescent moon in the sky. He'd given it to her 7 years ago. She'd never had a client like him before. All of her clients were different, of course. But Tom Willoughby had been her greatest surprise, as though her entire second career, she'd previously been in the Navy for 25 years, had been leading up to that point. She'd been waiting without knowing it, waiting for what, for whom she could not have said. And then he appeared. He called on a July afternoon for a phone consultation. his syntax registered as precise, mildly distressed. Yes, she would see him for an initial meeting. She'd had time that Friday afternoon. He postponed until Tuesday. As pressing as the need to speak was, he knew better than to rush things or alter plans on a dime. He had not anticipated a meeting for that same afternoon, and had already made other arrangements. Break. The evening light cast bars of yellow on the cream walls. It is an old house, transformed into makeshift offices. Have you come to terms with saying goodbye to yourself? That's what I'm trying to do. We assume we'll always be alive. We don't spend any time preparing. Isn't that why we're brought here in the first place? To unravel who we are and what we are about. That's what he'd said. He'd been sitting in the chair, there by the window, 3 feet from her. She felt in control of her own presence. She found it easy to look into another's eyes at length. But Tom Willoughby often returned her gaze with such unwavering intensity that she met her match. Have you ever looked at yourself in the mirror? I mean really stared into the reflection of your own eyes and wondered, who am I? Sarah had answered him affirmatively. Have you ever just listened to the sound of your voice and said, my name is Sarah Sky, Sarah, Sky? Amazing how a voice sounds when nobody but yourself is present to hear it. How strange, detached, and even new the voice becomes. Is this what I sound like, you say? You hear your voice as a spectator to yourself. What does it mean to say goodbye to yourself, your name, your voice, your face? It makes me sad. Do we ever truly know ourselves? Can we? We require interaction with others to illuminate our core desires. Sarah Sky, I will miss myself in relation to you and a few others. Will you remember this afternoon and how a young man spoke of death as though he intended to go the next day? Will you remember me? Sarah Sky closes her eyes. Yes, Tom. I have not forgotten our time together. I have never forgotten you. Until this moment, she hadn't fully realized what Tom Willoughby had been trying to tell her all those years ago. A healer isn't what you do, it is who you are. Sarah had gone into the field of counseling because the work fascinated her. People and emotions were concepts to her. Listening wasn't who she was, it was what she did. Sarah the officer, Sarah the mother, Sarah the counselor, role-playing. He never changed, though. He was always the poet. He'd frightened her sense of identity. She hadn't understood him. Her mind told her it made no difference now. Her heart said something else. With immediacy mistaken for abruptness, Sarah opens her eyes, steps to the foyer, and pulls the door closed. She inserts her key into the well-worn Yale lock. Turning it right, she says goodbye to yet another stage of life. Her life. Dr. Sarah Sky is no longer. She'd never been a doctor. She hadn't mastered the field of psychology. She knew she'd been playing at it these past 14 years. Tom Willoughby had known it too. Sarah Sky, room 101, slips away. Let's shift gears for a moment. So last year, I sent out a query for 2 books. And I really tailored it. This is a well-known publisher out in California. They said they'd get back to me soon. They didn't. I was persistent, but I waited the proper amount of time. They said they couldn't find the package. And this went on for months. They said they'd get back to me. They didn't. And I persisted. And in the end, they quickly brushed me off with a terse response. Now, there's a difference between rejection and rudeness. I have encountered chronically, when it comes to sending out queries, rudeness. Rejection is not a problem for me. But in this day and age, there are no, I guess, social etiquette is lacking. It is easy to dismiss someone in an email versus on the phone, or actually in person. Believe it or not, I actually spoke to individuals on the phone. However, for someone of my character, it's sad. It grates against me. Because I sit there and I say, this is not good PR. I'm glad I didn't get picked up by that company. I wouldn't want to work with them. So, when someone reaches out to me, I would like to, down the road, thank that publishing company for brushing me off. Where was I going with that? Maybe I shouldn't make these videos early in the morning. Anyhow, as I said, I had tailored that package. Nice. I wrote it was a handwritten letter. Not many people send handwritten letters nowadays. I love penmanship. There's something, you get a person's character in it. You have feeling, there's texture, and we are losing that. I don't know who out there will watch this video, but there's something exciting about that. I'm listening to the birds and watching the sunlight at the moment. Do you know what one of the most physically painful things is? This is completely random, but it's a little insight into my nature. Have you ever been in the privy, that's what I call the restroom, tending to nature's business, and your leg falls asleep? My gosh, there is nothing more painful than when you finally decide to stand up, and you can't even move. Feels like you have frostbite and your leg is dead. My gosh, these are the things, the important details of life. Also, I've wondered why, I don't go there, but years and years ago, why does McDonald's put onions on kids' cheeseburgers? Kids don't want onions, for the most part. I mean, there are exceptions. I love onions, and I probably did as a youngster. But by and large, kids are particular, and they don't want onions on their cheeseburgers. So why do it? That always threw me. I'm giving you gems here. Again, it is June in the year 2019. How is my gender state? Static. I will be making another video as regards hormones and whatnot, and my current state. But I'm a little weary. I am. I want to be able to benefit others. And another day goes by. I'm very proactive. I take the initiative, and by God, I am a tenacious little shit. Really. And I think that's overlooked. People don't take the time anymore. And that is sad. I don't even know if you've reached this far in the video. If you like me, maybe you have. But what is the rush? I write literature. There are a lot of books out there that are very formulaic. And I'm not saying that they aren't entertaining or well written, but will they stand the test of time? Probably not. What I have to say, what I have to offer, is a statement about life and what truly matters at the end of the day. Life is too short to do something that doesn't make you feel alive. Right, Aegis? Cats know how to live. Signing off, guys, ladies, everyone in between, the world over.